If you don't follow up with your leads, you're losing about 70% of them. And that is the statistic that most of real estate investors and wholesalers will tell you. And I absolutely agree with that statistic. So today I'm going to walk through step by step how I created and what tools that I use so you can create one for yourself. Or if you want me to create one for you, please leave it in the comment down below and I'm happy to hop on the call to see how I can help you. So today we're going to utilize 3 tools. We're going to use the CRM. My CRM of choice is Airtable. We're going to use the brain of the automation, which is going to be NNM, which I love. Number 3 is going to be either Twilio or Telnix, but I use Telnix because it's a lot cheaper than Twilio and they do the same exact thing. You're going to store your database in Airtable using NAN and scheduled follow-ups. You're going to follow up with them, and then afterwards you're going to text using your phone numbers that's stored in Twilio or Telnet. It might sound simple, but sometimes it's not, so let's go ahead and jump into the computer and I'll show you exactly how I built it. All right guys, so over the past 9 months I've created myself a full texting system, but today we're not going to be talking about that. That is a separate build that I can help you with. If you're interested in learning about more, just hit me up. However, this system that we're going to talk about is a follow-up system that you can create no matter what texting platform you use. I suggest using Smarter Contact if you are not at a point where you want to or need to or have the ability to create a full text system like that. But at the moment, let's say I'm just going to show you how I would do it. So you wouldn't have any of the stuff on the left, right? So what you would have is your leads that you would be storing. Let me just give you an example. There's some random county that I work in. So you would have these people that own these addresses and things like that, right? You would create a CRM, and actually Airtable is super simple to utilize and you can create it in the way that you need to. So for example, I have obviously their property address, city, state, zip, first name, last name, phone number, phone type, which I used to utilize. I can delete this completely actually. Lead labels, motivation, asking price, condition, bed, bath, if it's a house, obviously, mailing address information, when we've contacted it, if it's assigned to ChatGPT or not, because actually my system is a full AI automated system that I've created when it comes to texting. And then lead type, send status, all that good stuff. So you would create something that would make sense. And I'll show you the most important parts for the follow-up are these. And this is how I would suggest for you to do it. So you would need to have obviously property address, city, all that information, so the basic information. You would need to know last contacted. So every time you send a message, you're gonna wanna make sure that it records here, because based on that, we're gonna be able to identify which leads need to be followed up. And then obviously you need to make sure you record which number you texted them from, lead type, or who is it assigned to, do you have a VA handling it, or is it you, or is it AI. Obviously send status, that's what I like to see, if it's like which part of the follow-up process it's in. So let's say we send a message, they have replied, is it follow-up 1, follow-up 2, follow-up 3, all that good stuff, right? So you want to make sure you have a stand status, and it's easy to create. You actually go here and you choose single select, and then you add all the options you want. And then you want to make sure their last inbound message, you want to see what it is. This is because I have ChatGPT, I have this, you don't need to. I'll have a place where the full message thread is recorded, and I'll show you guys kind of how I do it so you can have a better idea as well, so you can create this for yourself. This will require a lot of figuring out as it goes, but hopefully this video will be a blueprint for you how to do it. There is the campaigns that it's assigned to and things like that, right? So these are important, and I believe that's it when it comes to most important things for the follow-up. That's it. And the way that the follow-up works is that the filter system for follow-ups is super important. Not specifically, we're not going to do this in the NAN, which is the automation software. We're not going to do that there. It's a lot easier to organize it in Airtable and a lot cleaner. So this is called a view right here on the left side. These are different views. So totally there's a main view which has all the leads all stored together. However, this is follow-up eligible leads is a specific view just for the follow-up automation that I've created. So for example, if we've sent a message and it says sent, which means that, like I said, every time we send a message, it records sent. You can do this manually in the beginning. Let's say you have 20, 30, 40 leads that you just want to have a consistent follow-up. You can add them here. And every time the message is just first time sent to them, if they haven't replied, let's say it was over 7 days ago, we've messaged them, and has not been assigned to a VA, which means for me personally, it means that they have not been previously communicated with a virtual assistant. It's been ChatGPT, so you don't have to do this. But if it's been sent and it's been over 7 days, and lead label is not, you know, away any of these, which is like they haven't responded, it's not NI, not too much, not whatever it is. So none of that stuff. So if it's just been sent and it's been 7 days, so there's no replies. If that's the case, they get added into this view, which then means is that NAID can pull a lead out of this view. Okay, so that's all you need to remember. Same thing here, follow-up one, if it's been 7 days since follow-up one, so it means we texted someone one time. 7 days later, they haven't replied. They get added to the system, which means they can be texted again. Then there are in follow-up one process after they get texted, and I'll show you how that gets added in the NNN. Then if they haven't been messaged 7 days again, we'll message them again. Then if they haven't answered in 7 days, we'll message them again. Then eventually they get added to ghosted, and then I actually have a separate database where all that stuff goes. If you don't have I have over 100,000 data records in one database. So I had to create a separate one, but you can just do this all here. So also I have for example, if somebody said too big of a price, 60 days later, we'll follow up with them because things change. If somebody didn't accept our offer, 60 days later, we'll follow up with them. These awaiting responses is not necessary for you. What this is for my automation, for my AI. So whenever AI having a communication, every time they message, every time AI messages and then it awaits response, and the next day if they haven't responded within 24 hours, it then go ahead and text them again to follow up to say, hey, did you get my message? So as you can see, right, this right here is all pretty much automated. So what you need to know is that in Airtable, you're going to utilize the view section in order to create how often do you want someone to be follow up with it and things like that. So after you have created this and you have your records here, and again, you can manually add these records here, or if you have, even if you have Podio, you can actually automate the process to add from Podio into Airtable, and up to 1,000 records. I believe Airtable is free. So if you have less than 1,000 lists you want to follow up with consistently, it is free. So then you're going to create a follow-up system in NNN. As you can see here, I actually have so many different systems that I've created over the years, which I absolutely love doing. So here's a follow-up system that I've created on the back end. This is the brain of the operation, right? So this is where everything gets connected. This is the connection point for everything. So please disregard this. I actually used to utilize Twilio. So these are Twilio nodes, and those are not really important right now because I actually utilize Telnix, which is a different platform. So the way that this works, let's just zoom in really quick. So you have a scheduled trigger. A scheduled trigger is at a certain time, a certain period of moments, whatever it is, it triggers. So for mine is every 10 seconds. Then it looks for active campaigns, all that stuff. You don't need to. This parts I would skip. If I was you, this right here is not necessary. This is important for me, for my texting platform that I created utilizing the same tools. Skip that part. What's important for you is a scheduled trigger. You can actually create a cron, which is a custom cron, and you can set up utilizing this format. You can set up hey, I want every Monday between this and this. So let's say a Monday through Friday between this hour and these hours, for the system to follow up every minute, whatever it is. So every minute it reads through the view that we earlier had and finds one lead and texts that lead, right? So if you wanted to do it that way, you could. I personally keep it at 10 seconds because the way that I have operated, pretty much just to give you an idea, every time my VA is active in any campaign, right? So if they have a campaign turned on, which means they're texting a campaign, the follow-up leads, they see that every 10 seconds and they say, hey, okay, you're texting a regular campaign, we're going to follow up with people as well at the same time. So that while the VA is up and working, the follow-ups will be coming in as answers. So this has been a game changer for the business for sure when it comes to follow-ups and making sure we keep up with everyone. But yes, so after all of that is done, I have it separated. And again, this could be changed a little bit depending on your needs, but you honestly will only need the top part. You're really not going to need the bottom part. The bottom part is offer stage that I have, awaiting replies, which again, I mentioned earlier is that whenever ChatGPT messages and the person hasn't answered back, so within 24 hours and then 48 and 72 hours, ChatGPT follows up. The top part right here, so you're not going to need this if not. All you're going to need is the schedule node, and then the search records node. So you're gonna search records. You don't need this formula. All you gotta do is use your base, your table, and then you don't even need a formula, because all you need to do is just put the limit to 1 and choose the view that you have created earlier. For me, it's a follow-up eligible lead. So because, like I said, the way we have this set up here, all the leads here are ready to be followed up with, and it doesn't need to filter. So all it has to do is that whenever it looks at this view, it says, okay, great, anything here is a fair game. So I'm gonna go ahead and text them. If you want certain ways to be followed up with, sometimes you can sort it out. You can sort it here, you can sort it here. Depending on who you want to be followed up with first. Like, for example, here I have it sorted less contacted, latest to earliest. So the awaiting replies messages, they get messaged sooner. Okay, when that's done, right? So you have the search records, you have the schedule trigger, you don't need anything in between here, and you don't need the if not. You go to what I call a switch, and the routing routes here is depending on the lead label. So for example, we have send, follow-up 1, follow-up 2, too much, offer not accepted, and I stop responding, follow-up 3, all that good stuff. Depending on that, I have static messages that get sent out. Utilizing this node with telnix, which is just straight up HTTP request, which is just a request that being sent through telnix, which is my phone number and messaging provider. It gets sent out and it says, hey, this is just an expression that you have to create for telnix. Again, this is a little bit more technical, but you should get a general idea. If you want to be easier and you don't care about saving the 50 cents for every text you send, you can utilize Twilio. It's a lot simpler. I'll actually show you right here. You literally just put from, so which you utilize a node from, then to, and then the message. Super easy. I think Twilio nodes are a lot easier to work with. Telnix is not as native to N8N, so it takes a little more time to set up, but that's why it's actually half the cost of Twilio. So you can just utilize a Twilio node. If you look up Twilio, there's a native node here. This is how you add nodes to N8N. If you don't know how to use N8N, that's a separate video as well, but this is just to give you an idea how to create this, or if you want to look into more how to create this. Then afterwards, a message gets sent, right? So this lead, so I'll just show you how it actually goes through. So first one is sent, which means is that we talked about this earlier. We have leads that are sent, but they're not, they've never have replied. So they've been first time contacted 7 days ago, and they've never replied. So they go into this first bucket, I would say bucket. They get sent a message. We update their record. So you want to make sure of this. This is very important. So everything that you do within N8 needs to be saved and needs to be updated within Airtable. So we make sure when we contacted last, we create that. This is you can steal this formula. This is how you should be recording stuff. And then this is important. So now I change the sent status of that leads from being just regular sent to now follow-up 1, right? So it went into the next stage of the process. So now that lead is follow-up 1, but it was just contacted. So it's not going to trigger and not going to this view until 7 days has passed. Unless the person replies, then there's a separate node for that, and you can update that manually if you would like. Then you need to record the full message thread, all that good stuff, all that fun stuff, right? And this is very easily done. As you can see, there's not too much to it. However, it's a tedious process and you want to make sure you do this correctly. Since you have the blueprint of how I do it, it's not that hard to do, especially if you use Twilio, but if you use Telnix and things like that, or if you're trying to utilize a little bit more complicated automation, this can become tedious. The whole texting system took me like over 8 months to create, including the follow-ups and all that stuff. So it's a tedious process. But overall, right, so then we have the follow-up 2, follow-up 3, offers that allow, all that good stuff. So this is the progression. It goes from one bucket to another bucket to third bucket to fourth to fifth to sixth to seventh to eighth, all that good stuff. Then let's say you wanted to make this nicer. What I mean by that is this is a CRM, everything's gonna get recorded here. So these people are gonna reply or not reply, all that stuff, and you can see the replies here, right? So this is, like I said, this is the full message thread. So you can see the replies here, but this might be a little bit too much going on. And if you want it easier, you can actually create what's called an interface. An interface is a nicer representation of your database. So Airtable has the opportunity to create an interface. For example, show you how mine looks. This looks like a regular texting platform, right? So We have recently texted buyers. So for example, here it looks like a regular texting platform. You know, I know it's not as pretty, but it does exactly the same job. You can see the address, the first, last, and the phone number, the campaign that we texted them, the full message thread. You can then reply right here, all that stuff. So that's the way I created it. But if you wanted to just don't have to reply here, again, this is if you just want bare bones, just a consistent follow up with someone, let's say every 60 days, even from a different number to see if they're open to selling or whatever it is. This is a good way to go because you can like follow up and then call them off your personal number or your business other number and say, hey, I saw you might be still interested in selling, all that good stuff. My VA texted you. So you can then take it on. So if you don't want to go too deep into creation of this, just a simple follow-up system will absolutely save you time and money. And this is Telnex. This is where I host my phone numbers. I absolutely love it. Again, this is like 0.004 cents instead of 0.008 cents what Twilio does per message. So it's half the price and I absolutely love it. I think it's a great platform to use. Again, this video is meant for you to know how you can create a bare bones system for follow-up that can save you so much time and prevent you from losing leads, because there's a lot of times you text leads or you call leads and then 6 months later, 3 months later, 2 months later, you forgot about them because life moves on and a lot of things happen and it's hard to keep up. So if you wanted to keep up, you can create the system. For the bare bones system may take you 3 to 5 hours to create, but this can make you thousands and thousands of dollars if done correctly. If you do want a full build system or if you're interested in learning more, please leave in the comments down below. I would love to connect with you so I can walk you through how to create this, and I would love to offer services to create it for you. If you're a real estate investor, wholesaler, or realtor, I think this is a no-brainer of what I've created over the last 9 months. I absolutely love it. We text about 300,000 messages a month and we're able to operate that within $1,000 or $1,200 just because of the cost efficiency of how we've been able to do it. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.